climate solutions need justice at their heart. And that's the big thing that we've understood much more clearly, including in Glasgow. And we're very good at making climate into a big problem. You know, I've been involved in climate negotiations since 1991, and we love acronyms. And we've got a new one now, and I think it's the best one and the one that we were missing. And it's JEDI, and it's justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. So that's why we all must be climate JEDIs, and we must put climate justice at the heart of climate solutions. I think in your training, which is what this 10 minutes is about, remember a few key points. Forget talking about the future. Look at the past. The past is what determines and drives and locks in the future. From every present moment onwards, you lock in a pathway. And it is the past which has been very uncomfortable for us to deal with. Many of the speakers have emphasized how we've got to the climate and ecological crisis really as a result of 400 years of doing things very badly. 400 years of thinking that nature and people could be used, exploited. 400 years of colonialism, 400 years of imperialism, 400 years where we have ignored the rights of indigenous people who had a healthier relationship with nature, who did not believe in land ownership. So forget about the climate models that keep predicting and telling you to look into the future as if the injustice is based in the future. It's based in the past, and the wounds and the legacies and the systemic problems that we're facing now stem from ignoring all of those things. So principle number one, look at the past, not just the future. Forget about emissions. Look at injustice. Look at injustice in the everyday and now. The emissions are just a symptom. They're an aspect of essentially wealth and class and racial differences and discrimination. So developing and developing countries, well, the US, based on historic emissions, represents 20% of the global emissions from 1850 to 2020. You know where China is? It's nowhere near. It's 11%. If you take all the past emissions into account, Brazil, India come much lower. Russia, in fact, is the third highest emitter. The UK is 4%, I think, or 3%. Germany is 4%. So injustice is a much more accurate and helpful way to look at climate change than just focusing on emissions alone. Finally, look at the high street. Don't just keep looking at the cops. It's odd for me to say this because I've been to 24 of them and spent all my time, but trust me, I now think that was a mistake to focus so heavily on the machinery of international governance, on national policy making, on summits, instead of what your high street looked like. And in the meantime, you know, we have neglected what's going on our doorstep. So look at the high street. Okay, JEDIs, we've only got 6 minutes left. So another 5 Fs that I think help orientate you in the world and make you into a model warrior. I don't mind using that analogy. I come from a family. My dad was an armaments engineer, so we're okay. We're good with fighting the empire. And frankly, this is an epic battle between those who are fighting for the good for all of us and those polluting elites and vested interests that I have known for a very long time, since 100 plus years. I'm looking at Alice and the scientists who, including myself, have now issued, you know, the 6th IPCC report saying code red. So this is really quite an epic battle. So the 5 Fs. Okay, food. Food waste, enormous problem, enormous numbers of emission, enormous numbers of harm, enormous amounts of deforestation locked in. Do something about it. Look at the injustices in the food system. Fashion. We've already had an alert. Fashion is the largest emitter. It's almost as large, the same emissions as Russia. We all get dressed in the morning, so that's something that you can do. I went on a fashion fast for a couple of years. You can turn into, you know, sustainable fashion is a fantastic thing. Recycling, upcycling. I'm wearing this suit. This is from Paris. and I have to wear it with a jacket because the seams are ripped. But I can wear it. It still looks nice unless I reveal that to you. Fuel, the third F, fuel. Okay, cars, transport. Again, a very heavy imprint by the wealthiest, by the 1% and the 10% who have car ownership, who have aviation, who have a lot of energy uses through properties. Fuel. Finance, you already heard that. You pay taxes. We all pay taxes, hopefully. And those taxes, your local authority, where you bank, are all ways in which you can make your money work better. And we need to divest away from the dirty old economy into the new economy. In the UK, we're still paying 14 billion a year to the oil and gas industry in the UK. We're also the second largest emitter of oil and gas. So again, a little bit of, remembering who's doing what. And finally, after finance, the fourth F, friendship and family. This is a very long-term battle. It's a battle which is, tiring, where we all need to sustain ourselves. It's not just, a COP here and a COP there. This is requires a lot of us to come together as a community. So that's why, as trainee climate Jedi warriors, you need to make sure you have your community, your friends, your family, and take them with you on this very long journey to a more just world. I think I want to stress at Glasgow what the positive things were. And the positive things were this immense understanding on the behalf of the largest number of participants who attended a COP. Actually, we still had 40,000 people registered at this COP, which is bigger than any other. And there was an immense understanding that actually we are resetting our relationship with nature. We are resetting our relationship with each other. We are on a pathway to uniting many different movements. The movements by workers to demand a just transition, the movement by the gender community to demand equality and dignity for women and for girls who do still the most amount of unpaid labour in the world, the move to demand racial justice, because we know that actually climate impacts will disproportionately impact black and brown people all over the world, whether they're in the UK or in the US or in Europe or in the rest of the world. It is black and brown bodies that will suffer the impacts, that are already suffering the impacts the most. And those groups, those constituencies really came together and joined hand in hand together. And that was really, really energizing. It's very hard to convey that to people. It's very hard to convey to people why the COP was utterly depressing, but also really joyous and uplifting, and was well worth the effort of going. And I see this as a massive turning point. And that's why I'm asking each and every one of you to become a Jedi, become a champion for justice, for equity, for diversity and inclusion, to make sure that everybody is part of this effort now. This isn't an effort that's going to be solved by the scientists. I think we need more storytellers than scientists. We need to make sure that every single sector, every single school, every hospital, every workplace now understands that they have a part to play in uprooting the system, as the young people in Glasgow called it, uproot the system. And actually the system is really decaying and it's really out of date, it's really out of order, and it needs to be replaced. And I hope very much that this 10 minutes of intensive training will help convince you that this problem is a problem, but it is one that can be fixed, as we know that the solutions are to hand, and they're cheaper and better to provide. They provide us with better jobs, clean air, warmer homes, and a more humane and kinder and nature-loving society. So it's well worth making the effort to go out and get your lightsaber and get trained up. And we need to have a lot more fun doing climate change as well. So yeah, please join us.